ouch, the Mazda dealership wants over $500 to make a spare key fob and tells me to spend 2 hours of my time sitting in their waiting room. That's crazy. You need another key for your Mazda vehicle? I'm Mike with Tom's Key Company. I want to show you just how easy it is to make a spare key without leaving home with the help of tomskey.com. We've got solutions for thousands of different vehicles, so come check us out. Before we jump in the car and show you what's going to happen, be sure you stick around to the end of the video. I'm going to call the Mazda dealership and ask them how much they want to rip me off for to make a spare key. So let's jump in the car. Okay, we're going to program today. You've got to have one working key that starts the engine. In my case, that's this tile key finder. It doesn't have, the buttons on it do not have to work, but it's got to be able to start the engine. And this is the spare key we're going to program with the yellow key tag. There's one very important thing with many Mazda vehicles. You've got to get the right FCC ID number on your spare key. So stick around. Later in the video, I'm going to tell you how to find that out. But for now, let's get going on programming. Okay, we got to fire up the app and then have to scan the barcode with the serial number, not the help barcode on the back. Okay, there we go. Tells us some important things. You need a solid internet connection. We've got to have all keys, both existing and new, have a repairing tool, and a caution or warning, the aftermarket components may cause problems. So if you have an aftermarket alarm system, aftermarket remote start, things like that, you might run into some problems, so proceed at your own risk. Okay, let's look up our vehicle. This is a Mazda 3 and it's 2014. So right there. Okay, asking what kind of key we have. There's only one option with this vehicle, a smart key, meaning you use a start button. So we got our smart key. Looks like we need to download a data pack from Mazda. Okay, we're ready to go for Mazda. Got to plug in the pairing tool. You got to find the OBD2 port to plug this in. If you don't know where that is, don't worry, it's not too hard. Come down to your gas and brake pedal, look up, there you go. Sometimes it'll be under a panel up here, but usually it's just pretty easy to access. So you plug in. To make your life a little bit easier, I recommend picking up this optional extension cable, then you can see what's happening with the programmer. With this guy here, we've got to get our pairing made. Let's come into our Bluetooth settings. Okay, once it's paired, we should see a green light turn blue. There we go. We've got the programmer paired, and the app also indicates it's paired. Okay, timing is everything on this, so pay close attention. If things go too slow, you may have to start over at the beginning. Turn on the ignition within 30 seconds. So I'm going to push the start button once, twice, till the dash lights turn on, and the vehicle has power, but the engine is not running. We've got to have the original key. Okay, here's my original key. We need to start the engine. Step on the brake. Engine has started. Okay, next. This programmer is going to connect to the VIN of the vehicle. So it's now tied to the VIN of this vehicle. You can only program keys for one vehicle with one programmer, but you can program multiple keys. Turn off the ignition. Okay, ignition is off. Turn on the ignition, don't press the brake pedal. So same thing, I'm going to click twice. Dashboard lights up. Hit next. Some important notes here. This is not going to erase existing keys, and up to 6 keys can be paired. So we're going to pair 1. It's communicating with the vehicle. All right, pairing the first key. Press for automatic transmission or manual transmission. You need to push the brake and then put the smart key up within 15 seconds. Touch where the logo would be. Notice it says we've got 5 keys currently. Pairing keys, it says we now have 6 keys. Turn the ignition off within 30 seconds. So this vehicle has lots of keys already paired to it. We now have 6 in the world, and you can stick around the end to see one of the problems I caused with one of those. We got to turn the ignition off. Here's our newly paired key. I'm pressing down the brake. I'm holding it up here for 3 seconds, and then I'm going to press it on. The engine fires up. And key pairing is complete. Notice I've got a blinking security light going still. I'm going to turn off the engine. Now I'm going to take my original key. I'm going to push the stop button with the original key. Hold it down. Engine fires up. Okay. We go ahead and turn off the engine. Now I'm going to take this newly paired key. I'm going to do the same thing. Hold the brake. Put it up to the start-stop button. Fire up the engine. That little procedure, that flashing security light has stopped. Okay, now let's check and see if these guys work. Okay, there's two things we want to test: if it starts the engine and if the remote buttons work. So let's check the buttons first. Let me get this guy unplugged. Okay, let's see if the buttons work. Here's the original key, locks and unlocks the doors. Here's the new key, locks and unlocks the doors. Look at that. Isn't that amazing? Okay, to make sure they start the engine, we've got to get all the keys out of the vehicle. Just set the keys away from the vehicle and try to start the engine. If I try to start it now, nothing happens. And so we know it's far enough away. Can't sense any keys. Notice I'm getting this blinking red security light. Okay, it's not working. So now that we know we've got the keys far enough away, we'll bring them back in one at a time. Here's the original key. Obviously it still needs to work. Boom, fires up the engine. Beautiful. Let's get this out of the vehicle. Okay, now we've got the new key. Moment of truth. Fires up the engine. Look at that. We've got a spare key working for the vehicle. Isn't that amazing? Can you believe how easy that was to make a spare key with this little programming device from Tom's Key Company? Okay, for your key by photo key cutting service, take your key out. You want to set it on. You want to have the key nice and flat as you take the photos. Be sure you add key by photo key cutting service to complete checkout. Upload those as you make your order. We use our key by photo key cutting technology. Your new key will arrive already cut, fitting the vehicle. It's like magic. Isn't that awesome? Okay, let's call the Mazda dealership and find out what they're gonna charge to make a spare key.
How can I help you?
I'm trying to find out how much it's gonna cost to make another key fob for a 2014 Mazda.
Give me 1 moment, okay?
Awesome, thanks. Just on hold now. How much do you think they're gonna quote? About 500 bucks. Maybe it's $400. 450? I think I'm going on hold for a few minutes now.
You're somewhere around 400 bucks because the part of the remote is like $230 and the labor's $190.
What? How long does that take?
Takes about 2 hours.
$190 to make the spare key. Said plan on a couple hours down there. It's gonna take half my day by the time I drive down, drive back. The service guy couldn't get the parts department to answer. Let's see if I can get them to answer. I'm trying to find out how much it costs for a key fob for a 2014 Mazda.
Okay, looks like the fob itself, $267.03 plus programming.
Okay. Does that include the key blade, the metal emergency key blade in it?
And the key blade
3014. All right. So what's that all add up to? 297?
97.17.
297. Okay. Thank you so much for the information. I appreciate it. So there you have it. $297 plus tax to get a new key fob from the Mazda dealership, plus $190 on top of that. I spent 10 or 11 minutes on the phone getting my quote and appointment in order to get this new key fob made. Can you believe the Mazda dealership wanted over $500 to make a spare key fob, and they said it was going to take 2 hours? Well, you saw how quick and easy that was. You can do it at home in about 10 minutes and save hours of time, hundreds of dollars. Come to tomskey.com and order your spare key and programming kit today. We make it super easy to make spare keys without leaving home. And what's more, we back everything up with a full money-back guarantee. So if you run into a problem, come visit us, help.tomskey.com, where you can find solutions to common problems and reach out to our customer support team. We'll help troubleshoot. And if for some reason it still doesn't work for you, no worries. Ship it all back, you'll get a full refund. It's that easy. I invited you to stick around to see the problem I ran into a few days ago. Here's what happened to me so we can make sure it doesn't happen to you. Let me back up quickly and just show you the abbreviated version of programming this key and how I found that I had a bad circuit board or the wrong FCC ID number. Here we go. Here's the 5-second version of me programming this key. Okay. That was it. Key pairing's complete. Now watch as I go to test this key and see what happens. Take a look at the buttons. Check the lock. See, it's not unlocking. The other ones all work, but this one didn't. If we try to start the engine with this, let's get all the keys out of the vehicle. Okay, this is the only key in the vehicle now. If I try to start the engine, it doesn't work. Nothing happens. We just get the blinking green light on the push button start and the flashing red security light on the dash. Look what happens if I hold it next to the start button. The start button lights up green and we get a green security light. So that's kind of interesting because it allows me to start the engine. Well, here's what's happening. The chip inside this key has been programmed and it can be sensed by the vehicle computer when the key is held right next to the start button. That's very helpful in cases if your fob battery has died or the circuit board has been damaged, you'll still be able to start the engine by holding the key up to the start button and pressing it. However, it also means because the buttons don't work and the ability to send the signal here doesn't work, means the circuit board is either damaged or, more likely, it's the wrong circuit board. It's for vehicles that have a FCC ID ending in D02. So that's why it's really important to verify the FCC ID number of your original key. I recommend grabbing your phone, zoom in, snap a photo, and then, if you look carefully, you will see the FCC ID. In this case, it ends with the letter D01. Now, what if you don't have an OEM key? You're not going to have the FCC ID listed. The thing to do there is to call the dealership, ask for the parts department, tell them the VIN number of the vehicle, and ask them what key you need. Tell them you need to find out the FCC ID, if it ends in D01 or D02. If they don't give it to you, try calling another Mazda dealership. You may have to try 2 or 3. They just want you to come in and get ripped off. Check out my video where I demonstrate that with hidden cameras. So the good news is this key with the blue tag is always an emergency backup. And the bad news, none of the buttons work and it's pretty inconvenient. Come to tomskey.com where you can save hundreds of dollars and make a spare key without leaving your driveway.